Joining me now is Congresswoman Karen Bass and Washington Post's EJ Dionne. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Reverend.
Congresswoman, 47 million Americans suffering today, and your Republican colleagues want to slash 40 billion more. How do you fight this?
Well, you know what, I'm happy to say that there is going to be a committee of both the House and the Senate that's going to be meeting while we're on break, and hopefully they will come to some resolution. But, you know, it's worse than just protecting Wall Street, because you remember, Rev, that when this was voted on, some of the same Republican members of the House voted for themselves to have farm subsidies to the tune of millions of dollars. And I think that it is tragic that the House wants to cut $40 billion more. Now, one thing that I'm comforted by is I know that will never get through the Senate. So during this conference committee, I hope they come to a resolution. In my opinion, they shouldn't be making cuts to food stamps at all. But $40 billion is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you know, EJ, Rush Limbaugh, the real head of the Republican Party, he really shows the mentality of so many on the right. Here he is today on food stamps. Listen to this.
It's as though these people can't provide even an M&M for themselves. From the idea that without food stamps, people are going to starve. People are going to go without 21 meals this month because they have a $36 cut in their food stamp allotment.
Now, you know, EJ, Limbaugh can't imagine that $36 would cut 21 meals. But here's the reality. On average, SNAP benefits pay for $1.40 per meal. That's it. So a $36 reduction would mean losing about 25 meals. Do the math. So yes, Rush, $1.40 a meal. Try living on that. Why do so many on the right demonize people who are poor, EJ?
Well, did you notice that term, these people? What does he mean by these people? These people include a whole lot of Americans who work really hard for a living. If you want to cut food stamps, the best way to do it would be to raise the minimum wage so people would have more take-home pay in their pockets.
Right.
But the notion that we are paying a fortune to these folks, the average household gets $281 a year in food stamps. That's less than $3,400 a year. The average individual gets $133 a month. That's less than $1,600 a year. Now, does Rush Limbaugh really think this is enormous amounts of money? He gets a whole lot more than that, I bet, if he has a mortgage deduction. I mean, this is not a very generous program. It's just helping people get by.
You know, Congresswoman, the issue is really bigger than just food stamps. Right. Look at the priorities of the Republicans. They really haven't changed. They're fighting to cut Social Security and Medicaid. They want more means testing for Medicare. They love to keep the sequester cuts, which hit things like Head Start and Meals on Wheels. And on the flip side, they want lower taxes for the rich, subsidies for all companies, and they want a gut Wall Street reform. These are some real weird priorities for people that claim they love America and love the American people.
Right, and don't forget to add in that they don't want people to have health care. You know, that's in addition.
Well, that's near the top of the list.
Exactly. I do think that it's really sad, but like you pointed out before, it really does reflect an underlying philosophy, and that philosophy is the survival of the fittest. And so we don't want to put a hand out to help folks. If you can't make it, then, you know, you're out of luck. But when we're talking about food stamps, just like you showed at the beginning of the segment, is that there's a lot of veterans who are on food stamps. Right. So are they saying that, you know, they're just sitting around waiting to have a government handout? I think that it's a real double standard, and it's a very sad way that the Republican Party has developed. You know, in addition to cutting, they also want to add on crazy restrictions, like you have to have drug testing, and you have to work, ignoring the fact that a huge percentage, if not the majority of people who are on on food stamps do work. They just don't make enough of a living to feed themselves completely.
No, and it is that attitude, EJ. It is the disdain for people that is really, really troubling to me. It's one thing to deal with policy, but it's a disdain for low-income Americans that come from all of the pundits and speakers for the right. Listen to this.
Self-reliance means if anyone will not work, neither should he eat.
Really poor children in really poor neighborhoods have no habits of working and have nobody around them who works. They have no habit of, I do this and you give me cash, unless it's illegal.
Teach a man how to fish. He can feed himself for a life. Don't simply feed fish.
Look at poverty in this country. Everybody out of work is eating. They got big screen TV, probably have a car, probably have a cell phone.
My contention is that the Obama administration is encouraging parasites to come out and, you know, take as much as they can with no remorse.
Now, we can debate economic policy. We can debate how you aid those low-income Americans. But the disdain, the almost demonizing and denigrating of people because of their economic status, that to me is inexcusable, DJ.
I think so, too. I mean, they're acting as if all these folks have mansions right next door to Donald Trump on public benefits.
Right.
They act as if all these folks don't want to work. One of the insidious things in the House bill is that they say they have a work requirement, but that's not a real work requirement because states can cut people even if they're unemployed, even if they're looking for work, even if they can't find jobs that they want to take, and the state is under no obligation to help them. That's not a work requirement. That's just punishing people because the unemployment rate is high. And so it's crazy to talk this way about our fellow citizens, and I agree with you. I think it's wrong.
Congresswoman, but there is some good news in all of this because some Republicans might be seeing reality. Some are slamming this war against the poor. The president of a major conservative think tank says, quote, one of the things in my view that we get wrong is this war against the social safety net, which is just insane. And earlier this week, GOP Governor Kasich said, quote, I'm concerned about the fact there seems to be a war on the poor. So there seems to be a little crack of light in the middle of this wall of that seems inflexibly against working class people.
Well, you know, I do think that that's a hopeful sign. At the end of the day, we need the Republicans to take their party back away from the extremists. And it's also part of the reality. You know, the sad thing is that it's not like there's not poor people in their districts.
Right.
Because each one of the Republicans that vote this way around food stamps, that want to do these devastating cuts, they have tens of thousands of poor people in their district. Now, it puts the onus...
Many of whom work every day. Many are working people.
Well, and there are also people that we need to go out and register so that we can correct this next November.
Congresswoman Karen Bass, I want to have to leave it there. EJ Dionne, thank you for your time tonight as well. Both of you have a great weekend.
Thanks for having us.